as a musician myself, I always said, I was like, like one day on tour, like the goal would be like, I want to see the world too. Like I don't want to be like, oh yeah, I played a show in Italy, but like I was there for like 6 hours. Like no, I want if I'm going to Italy, man, I like screw the quote unquote. Oh, I gotta make the money
That's
quickly to
how
go
it is.
Italy to France and this. It's
A
like no
lot of
way.
time.
What was that? I'm sorry.
No, I was just saying, unfortunately, that's how it is.
Sure.
Like, in the early days, sometimes it's so fast paced. You're in a, like, especially speaking of like Europe, like, you're in a new country almost every other day.
Mm-hmm.
You may have 2 days tops in a place on average. So you're really moving fast. You're like seeing the whatever the highlight. If you're in Paris, you're like, okay, I'm gonna go look at the Eiffel Tower for like I got 3 hours before sound check, and then I gotta go to work.
Yeah.
You might have some time at night to go see a little scene or something, but it's really rushed traditionally. But there was one tour I did, one of the better tours I did, where I toured Africa with an artist named Jadena. And when we did Africa, we were there for 3 weeks, and there were only 5 shows booked, and I only had to play three of them.
Oh wow.
So we were in Rwanda, Uganda, and Nigeria in those 3 weeks. I had more time to see like the country,
Mm-hmm.
and the continent, I should say,
Mm-hmm.
than we actually played shows, which
Yeah.
normally never happens.
Yeah. Absolutely, man. No, that's pretty. That's pretty amazing, and that's definitely something I'll be taking out of the book. When my
Mhm.
time comes for that, because I think it's such a cool way to do tour like that. So the way we're speaking kind of sounds like you've been on a couple different tours, or many different tours, based on like the way you're speaking. And I'm curious, how does one tour lead to another tour? Like, how does one connection lead to another connection? Or how does even taking it from production, like, how does one production client lead to another? Like, what are you actively doing to gain these clients? 'Cause I think that so often, and I preface this with the fact that, like, so often musicians, like, all right, cool, I want to be a touring, musician, or I want to be a producer. And it's like, cool, like, how do I get my first client? Or I got my first client, how do I get my second? Like, what does that look like?
I think in my case, for live music, it was the case of, like I said, going out, meeting the cats who are pretty much running the scene. And also, the cool thing about social media is you can meet people that don't live in your neighborhood, and
Mm-hmm.
it's an infinite connector to people. So I think like we talked about early, like having a really professional social media helps a lot. Like I don't post personally and nothing against people who do, but I don't post any like personal family stuff on my music social media. I really keep it industry. And you might see some fam stuff like in the story for like 24 hours.
Mm-hmm.
But I really don't like you were talking about with your girl or with the
Yeah,
kid,
yeah,
dog, or just a picture of a sunset. Like I don't have any of that. And there's
yeah.
nothing against people who do that if that helps your engagement. And because people do love the personal side of your lives. I've just had some encounters where it's been weird,
Mm-hmm.
personally. So I
In
kind
what
of
sense?
okay, like here's an example. And this was a very sweet thing, but it kind of was creepy to me. Like, so during the time I was working with Charlie, we played in Paris one night, and then the next day, the people of France made me like a fan page. Like they made like a DMills fan page, like French fan page or something. And it was like cool, it was just music stuff at first, stuff from a tour. But then like they would repost stuff that was like personal pictures of like kids and like wife and like really kind of like not musical things. And it just kind of like was weird to me.
Sure,
But I don't know,
absolutely.
maybe I'm old school in that way, like where you got to come to my house and look through a photo album to see my family. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah, 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 absolutely. I hear that, man. Absolutely.